Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Seven Kinds of Mischief. I'm your host, Stone Loki, and with me tonight, of course, is the one, the only, the Doctor of Destruction and Disaster, Adega Outlaw. Hail, brother.
Hail, good evening, everyone.
And I hope everyone out there is doing great today. Dave, Bob, Loki, and Adega. Naughty Monkey ORAP. Yeah, okay, Doom Time. Gun Bunny, Lady Mist, Curry, Hail Curry, Chris Persia, Lady Mist, the Guardian of the Void is here. James Andrew Morrison. Good evening, sir. Chris Persia, the Wrench of Wrenches, is here. Purple Valkyrie, Heiress of Chaos, the Battle Angel is here. Gun Bunny, good evening. Dee Dee Myers, good evening. How is everybody out there doing tonight? And we've got two good stories for you tonight. Two really good stories. Adega's got one for you that is based in fact. It all happened. It's all fact. And I've got something a little different that I'm going to do tonight.
Thank
Hello,
goodness.
Luis. Yeah, thank goodness. compared to the last time, right? Oh man. Luis, good evening. I hope everyone out there is having a great evening tonight. So, man, kick it off, Adega. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, before you start showing any images, any of you who know me a little bit know that I have a special needs son. And there is a video, if you ever want to see him. I was looking for a picture that I could use for my icon today, but I couldn't find one. But I did several months ago a video about making a dessert, and he decides to cruise on into the kitchen. I give you a little view of him trucking around. But he's 22 and severely handicapped, and my wife and I have always fought for him. We fight for our other kids too, but special needs holds something very near and dear, and it also terrifies me in a lot of ways. There have been things in history and the reason why I bring this up is because I was looking for haunted areas, real life things, because so far everything that I've shared with you has been probable or is real. Like last week, the Countess, she was real. The Russian experiment probably was real. This one here is definitely real, and it starts off horrifically sad. It led to some serious changes, but it also led to some serious issues. And in the long run, there's a lot of hauntings that came of it. We have places like Gettysburg, where there were many people killed, and people could still, you can go here on YouTube and find videos of people that have gotten orbs or ghosts or various different things that reveal that there were certain energies involved with terrible events. And the reason why I brought up my son, back in, let me get some of my notes up. Back in 1903, things were kind of strange here in the United States and around the world. But there were some good people that discovered that there were the disabled, the unfortunate. They called them some feeble-minded. There was people with epilepsy, learning disabilities. And they found them in various different hospitals and homes in different places around. This one in particular is the state of Pennsylvania, and some of you have probably heard of this place. It's called Penhurst Asylum. And good intentions from these people decided they were going to build this place, a school and a hospital, to take care of these people, to educate them. And it finally opened a few years later. It was 1908. But this place is considered one of the most haunted in the U.S. and definitely the most haunted in Pennsylvania. And the things that I'm going to tell you now are true. And Loki, in a moment, will start showing you images from the place. Let's go down into the history. Because the reason why I bring this up again, one, it led to some hauntings, which we'll talk a little bit about at the end, but also this is something that could have happened to my son. where people were taken from their homes in different places and put into a place like this. When I was in school, there was a doctor who did traveling around the world with groups of chiropractors where they would go and help people. And there's some miracles. But when they ended up in Russia, they found a place just like this. And the images they brought back still causes me troubles to sleep sometimes. It hurts. It hurts. So let's expose the truth. I'm going to start reading some things, and it's like not like previous. I'm not going to read completely through. I'm going to interject quite a bit. This one is Eastern Pennsylvania State Institution for the Feeble-Minded and Epileptic. The purpose and intent of the hospital and school was to provide a place that offered rehabilitative services and programs to individuals that were considered to be mentally challenged or disabled in a physical manner in the southeastern region of Pennsylvania. Despite the good intentions of those that established the institution, the services offered were far more productive. Little did all involved realize that Penhurst Asylum would eventually be known as one of the most haunted places in Pennsylvania. Like I said, in 1903 is when it started. The state of Pennsylvania recognized the need to create a structure that would offer placement for individuals suffering from mental and physical complications. A special team discovered these individuals spread out in mental hospitals, alms homes, prisons, regular hospitals, and even reformatories, and orphanages, various other places where they would find these, even in some stable homes. And so they brought them to the asylum. There was an awful lot of children that were brought there, and it kind of worked for a little bit. Unfortunately, actually, this place was, let's talk about how it was built, because they intended it to be really good. The original buildings were 2 stories in height and constructed with beautifully designed brickwork, and that were red in color. These were enhanced by trimmings composed of both granite and well-formed terracotta. They had tunnels underneath, which I don't know if any of you have been to some of these institutions. We had one that was recently torn down by my neighborhood now, quite haunted, and it had tunnels underneath it as well. They were constructed to be safe places and easy access and prevention for any type of fire, especially back in the early 1903, 1908. And in November of 1908, they had patient 1. While the building was advised as providing school services, the actual number of residents that got to enjoy these services was extremely limited. They really didn't teach a lot. However, there were additional courses that many got to have opportunities to experience. These services focused on teaching the residents basic care, skills that would allow them to become self-sufficient and productive. And if any of you have special needs or no special needs, that is one of the biggest goals that any parent or caregiver would want, is to have these people fulfilled. There was one time when we were taking my family were out back, and we had this 4 Seasons room where you can see the whole backyard through sliding glass doors on 3 sides, and we're out there raking up leaves. And of course, my son, if you saw the video, you see he's severely disabled. And yet he was up with the glass and was holding up a bag. He wanted to go out and help. And unfortunately, it would have been more harm to him than anything. These people want to be part of society. And the school was supposed to do that. There's something that isn't in the article that I'm reading now, but if you see one of these images that go by, here's, you can see now on the screen, it's probably just past time. My voice is about 8 seconds ahead of what you're seeing on the screen. They had these kids, there it is, it popped up, the eugenics health exhibit. With that, at the time, and this is where certain very bad individuals in a certain German country decided they would take up this eugenics idea. And some of its leaders, like Margaret Sanger and people here in the United States, thought there were certain individuals that weren't fit to be part of the gene pool. And so Penhurst not only was a school for these poor downtrodden, they even put immigrants in there. Over time, the school became so populated, it had over 900 different people that were above and beyond the schools or the institution's ability to house. There were stories of, and this is in the late 60s and early 70s, so things had been bad for a long time, where mold, which, it's tough to buy or sell a home if it has mold, but this place was riddled with it. But not just mold. There were all kinds of smells of a foul and vomit, and it was just laying in the walkways all over the place. It got so populated that most of these people became neglected, and they couldn't take care of them. So what these people resorted to, who were caregivers, if you can call them that, they either completely neglected them. Some of the images you'll see here, like this individual that's sitting on the ground, like I said, the images are going to be about 8 seconds behind my voice. The actual video that I took it from, he was rocking back and forth and sitting in his own feces with no care, until the cameraman came up and showed this person with nothing to do, no one caring for him, in clothes that were filthy. And this wasn't uncommon. There's other images in here where it shows adults in diapers in cages. There are others where children, here is a poor gentleman who was bent over with nothing to do, no hope, no shirt. There were others just walking by him while he sat there in his own private little world, without care, without instruction, without anything. Obviously, he ate well, but he's a bigger person and probably fought off some of the children to get food. There were some horrible things, and I have to tell you this because these are things that happened here in America, and these are things that are happening now in the world. And these are things that cause some of the hauntings and the terrible stories that happen in ghost stories. Yeah. Now, there was a quick flash of a gentleman with glasses on. He was one of the doctors there. He was actually the lead doctor. And he's a horrible man because instead of taking care of these people, he would inject them into silence, into sleep. They were given medication to sedate them to where they didn't have to worry about them. And they were lucky to have their sheets cleaned every few days. Or themselves cleaned. It was lucky that this was exposed, but things happened. Like I said, they were terrible people that were brought in. Even if you had a speech impediment, sometimes they were bringing you in. And there were organized fights, crippled fights, disabled fights that the staff put these people through. There were the abuses of every type of imaginable ones that you can think of. If you can think of it, it was probably done, short of removing limbs. But it was done here. In the 1960s, one of the patients was able to be removed. And in 1977, I have an article here. There's a little flash that hopefully Loki could find it real quick, of a court order that this individual, along with several others, decided to sue this institution to help these poor people out. Unfortunately, it took another 10 years before this was able to follow through fruition. And part of the reason why our institutes are closed today is simply, we used to have institutions all over the place, and some of them were good. But with places like this, in the late 80s, all of them were shut down, not just Penhurst. So we have, and you think of all the homeless you see on the streets. You think of the people that are walking by or sitting with cups on the streets in these downtown areas. They have nowhere to go. And the ones that are severely disabled, you don't see. Now, the reason why I bring this up, not just for the haunting that's going on, is because here I live in Michigan. We originally moved here for my son. He got good stuff from school, and it was a lot better than Arizona. I'll tell you a story about Arizona. In Arizona, we were there, and they wouldn't give us a wheelchair, wouldn't give us a stander, wouldn't give us anything for him. They said, take him home and let him die. These are doctors. Oh, there's the one kid with the blindfold. I think he was caught just fidgeting. So they put him in isolation, put on the mask, and there he sat for a couple days. This was early on. You could see all the nurses and everything. The place was relatively clean, but there's not a happy face among them. But they were not only kept in cages, some of them were tied. Apparently, when people would come by, when the reporter came by with his crew, they were mortified to hear all the screaming and the terror that was going on. I have seen images of a child that was tied with a rope to his leg sitting on the floor and had been there so long, this is real, that his knee grew backwards. His foot was near his face because of a lack of care, because of institutions like this, because there are people that believe they are not human. Now, I know Loki, and I know some of you have been around some of these special needs people, and because they cannot speak doesn't mean they are not intelligent. It doesn't mean they don't feel. And when the place finally closed, they started noticing things around this, and these are all real. You will be able to find images if you look, of little children walking the halls where no one was there. There's another adult sitting in their own filth in a cage where they can't escape. Their cries still go out. There are people that go there and they'll see some of the nursing staff walking by, and there's no one there. You've heard of shadow people. They're there in abundance. They do give tours. There's even a sick group. This is the reporter that exposed it, that helped start the collapse of that institution. Again, I'm either 8 seconds ahead or behind, so if you're seeing images and I don't match, I'm sorry. But it's things like this that leave such horror and sadness, where the voices of these people who have died still ring out. There have been people that have gone there after the place has been closed that will receive scratches. And like I said, shadow people are very common. Orbs, images of ghosts, little children, the screams, the nurses, and a real sick group that thought this would be a good place where we could make money by making it into a haunted house, disrespecting all the lives of the poor people that had to be, in this case like this one here, shackled. And some of the parents had no idea that their children were going through this. And some of the people didn't have families at all, and were relying upon people to take care of them, and this is what they got. So the point of this story is not only just to make you disgusted with what humanity can do, and the eugenics programs that still exist today in the United States, and I won't get into it because some of you probably agree with it. But the emotional and mental scarring that goes on leaves a mark in places that you visit. When you step inside a home, or an old church or school, or a field where there had been a battle, there's something about humanity where you can still feel it. Where I guess it would be a spiritual energy still clings to our world. And sometimes you can even see it. In some cases, you can feel the scratches of these people crawling and clawing and screaming for some type of attention that they never got. So next time you see a group home, you see adults being guided by one or two people trying to take care of them. These are real people. And from beyond the grave, like these children that he's showing, they still cry out. I had the hardest time, like I said, putting this one together because I was looking for a haunted place. And then when I got into it and saw how much it related to my family because of my son and what we have been blessed to prevent him from experiencing. But there were tens of thousands that went through this school that weren't so fortunate. When you feel those hauntings, it's oftentimes these are the voices that you hear. And they don't mean any harm to you. They just want to be heard. I'm glad it's closed. Sorry to do that to you, but I had to share that. All right, Loki, I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize at all, Adega. Do not apologize at all. There's nothing to apologize about. Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing at all. I do know friends and people that are close to me that have autistic children, and I had a very, very close friend with an autistic son that was talking to me one day about him not understanding that about a tablet. They had bought him 20 of these tablets because he would break them. Eventually, he'd break them. And he didn't want any other tablet. He wanted this specific tablet. That was his tablet. And they would go through making sure that keeping track of every app he had on this tablet, because if he broke it, he expected it to be fixed. And they would reload all the apps he had on this tablet, and eventually, of course, they're running out of tablets. They don't even make this tablet anymore. And I suggested that his mom get down on the floor, sit with him, and explain that he had leveled up into a new tablet and eventually work in slowly this new tablet, and how they had to do it on his level. They can't do it on their level because he doesn't understand their level. They had to do it on his level and his level of understanding. He may want that old tablet. You might have a couple of them left, but because he plays games and he understands what leveling up is, getting better, leveling up. Explain to him that this is a leveled up tablet. This is his leveled up tablet. I understand. I don't understand as well as you do, but I understand how complicated and how difficult it can be, and how you have to explain that. So don't be sorry. Don't be sorry at all. Thank you for sharing that, because I understand how close that is to you.
Sometimes, and like I said, the reason why I brought it into Halloween was for the ghost stories, but a lot of these old churches, these old buildings and things, like I said before, there's an energy. I can't say that they still exist here and haven't moved on, but there's some type of energy that exists, of voices that were neglected or weren't heard or went with sorrow and are left in pain, or the expression of their pain remains. It's nothing to be afraid of.
No, no, it's not. The story I've got for you tonight, everyone, is not nearly as touching or thought out as Adega's story. I am going to read the history of the Sentinels. This is not something that actually happened. This is something based in the Doom universe, since we are going through Doom and Doom Eternal. And I just really liked this codex entry about the history of the Sentinels. It's kind of long, but I will do my very best to get through it the best way that I can. This is translated from the Book of Kings and goes all the way back to the original race that walked Earth and Mars in the Doom universe. In the days before man first spoke, an immense shard of rock and metal was cast unto the world from the heavens. Thunder and cataclysm shook the land as the skies were torn asunder. The cosmic spear cleft a hole through our mortal lands pole to pole, from the cold wastes of the umbral plains to the fetid swamps of Iron Fang. The womb of the world opened, and the elemental race, the firstborn, spilled forth. They took to the skies, fierce in their emancipation. In their exaltation, they brought vitality to the land, and all that felt their breath were awakened from eternal slumber. Fierce beasts and an unforgiving biosphere rose in the passing of their shadow as the wraith call echoed across Argent Noor. First came the ancestrals, feral creatures invigorated by the magic of the race. They grew to enormous heights, mighty behemoths who waged war with each other for years untold. Their battles tore the land asunder and destroyed all creation caught in their wake. The wraith call continued to spread across the land, and soon the Argenta emerged from the steppes, our souls stirred into form by the power of their breath. The Titans towered over the wild-blooded tribes, but found them uncowed. The secret of the sword was discovered, and in the darkness of sweltering molten forges, we beat steel until it was strong enough to pierce bone and sever flesh. Thus we came to be, born of rock and fire, lowly in birth, but risen by the strength of our will, by the blessedness of the first ones. We forged sword and shield and took the hammer to the ancestrals. We claimed dominion of creation by right of blood, and the time of man came to be. With the ancestral beasts driven back to their bleak valleys, we rose. We tilled the fertile land, husbanded beasts of burden, and built towering cities. In the hollowed places on the obsidian throne, we crowned King Omera, the Father, the first of the line that shall reign in perpetuity. We built the cathedral of reflection to worship the first ones, and form the order of the Adega, whose priests pay tribute to the race and appease their tempestuous hunger. Our sons and daughters chose the path of the sword or the path of the alchemist, for each duty honors the gods. Though our ways were righteous, we were not without strife. Storms and great quakes cast our spires down. Barbaric tribes laid siege to our fields in search of the great gifts Mother Argenta had bestowed upon our work, and the song of the wraith call threatened to drive lesser men into madness. We were not lesser men. We defended that which the first ones gifted to us, our lands and right to the bounty held within, we beat back the barbarian hordes and hardened our resolve. We rose above the fire, our bodies and souls tempered, and an unbreakable will was shaped in the forge of battle. What emerged was the heart of our legion, the Order of the Night Sentinels. In the time of grief, when King Etrex took the throne, a blessing came to the people of Argenta. White porcelain beings from another world above our own brought gifts to Noor. Observers to our great deeds, admirers of our convictions, they sought to make bond with our swords and bring lasting order to our world. These beings, unlike any we had seen before, sword and shield had no weight against them. For the eternal flesh of these luminous beings seemed unbound by mortality. Able to move through time and space, they held sway over all dominion of the known and unknown dimensions. Through their ways, we grew stronger, our society bolstered by their infinite wisdom and all-knowing power, assuring our people's safety for all time, in this world and in the next. Where we sharpened the blade and mastered our magic, they bolstered the soul and spirit. Death would no longer be the end for our people. The ones we call the Makers, our new allies in this brutal world, have given us the security in death we fought so hard to achieve in life. We would find eternal peace, and our minds would rest easy with the knowledge that those we fought alongside in battle would join us in the lands beyond the mortal realm. The strength of our ways, the purity of our essence would be Maker law grant us passage to the city in the clouds. There, women and children, warriors and kin alike would welcome us. We adopted the holy doctrine of the Makers, gifted in exchange with the chance to earn eternal rest for our mortal souls in the blessed Urdak. The covenant we held now under the embrace of our new gods fostered a peace we had never known, for they were unlike the first ones, whose presence offered no paradise from fear and the uncertainty of existence in a harsh and unforgiving world. The Maker's embrace was warm and guided us into an era of spiritual prosperity. With machine and enchantment of the Makers, the Argenta brought our newfound clarity to the desperate realms of the Empyrean void. We took flight with the support of our gods, spreading the enlightened words of the Khan Maker. We discovered there was not one enemy, but many. Worlds and peoples unknown to the Argenta were unveiled, and we saw our own suffering reflected in their eyes. Our righteous army strode into battle under the banner of the Night Sentinels and fought for the freedom of all peoples from the grasp of those who would exploit and prey upon us. Though we battled on soil not our own, the blood we shed in foreign lands safeguarded Argent Noor and the sons and daughters that defended it. Through this strange people we liberated, new alliances were formed, and our beliefs became their own. Our armies swelled. As the Argenta traversed the stars with gleaming war fleets, the Khan of the Khan Makers approached King Rowan on his throne. He sensed his god restless by her disquiet manner. The king and Khan spoke, and the god revealed she had foreseen a schism in the blood of the Argenta. A test would be required to identify its hosts among us. She spoke of a holy rite to be performed on the strongest of our warriors. Only those that proved worthy would be tested. For the impurity could reside in only the most resilient of our legion. The divinity machine, a great tribute by Maker Skolas, would help us to cleanse any impurities from our flock, ensuring our continued prosperity in this world and in the Maker realm that awaited in the afterlife. The malicious one, if not exhumed from our ranks, would jeopardize our safe passage to the heavenly realm of Hordak. The Dark One was not among them yet, nor would he be for many generations. Only the Mother God, through divination of Maker's sight, would determine when he stood before them. The Makers were truth, and only their unclouded eyes could find the one who was marked. The prophecy of the Unholy One was written, but through the ages the warming grew faint until only the Khan Maker herself and the high priests of the Order of the Dag still whispered of he that would one day come to threaten their way of light. In the time of King Novik, as the Argenta secured peace and safety through dimensions across time and space, an outlander came to us. He was not of our world and spoke an ugly tongue. How he first took step upon our land was unknown. Sentinel scouts had found the outlander bloodied, clawed, and near death, mumbling of impending doom and the forces of darkness. The scent of blood followed him, and the gore that stained his armor seemed not entirely of its own. By Argenta law, the stranger would be judged in the Colosseum, where he would be given the chance of all who stray from the path to fight for his freedom. We knew not of this stranger. His mind seemed crippled with rage. He dressed in attire not suited for our lands and carried munition of arcane origin. We watched as his will overcame his injuries, and in the blood arena he proved his worth. The Outlander's techniques were crude and brutal, but the determination in his charge echoed that of any true-born sentinel. His war cry echoed through the Colosseum, as did the sound of his fury, and the guards cheered his banner. "Rip and tear," they shouted, as the beast pushed beyond mortal wounds and certain death. He would be gifted no rank, no title. The survivors in the arena were provided only one reward: the right to earn an honorable death while spreading the blessings of the Makers to those in need. The Outlander's determination was witnessed, his ravings documented, and through the word of the Order Dag, the Khan Maker had him brought before her. She set her minions to learning his tongue, for with his ugly words he spoke of lands unseen, creatures born of fire in a dark place unknown to the Queen and her caste. Yet another opportunity to expand the gift of the Maker to those in need. On the eve of the Black Star, the Dark Ones came from a world beneath our own, not through ship nor ephemeral vessel, but through the fabric of dimensions. Out of swirling, fiery gates came horned beasts from a timeless realm. First one, then many. Crashing waves of evil swelled from the obsidian forest to the Argentine overlands. The Alorum clans from the eastern mountains fell first to the black hordes of devils and demons, and the city of Talorum was slung under the weight of their charge. We sentinels rose to meet the beast with spear in hand, the might of the holy fleet striking back at the demons. But the dark gates from whence they came gave birth still to even greater hordes. A line of blood was drawn with the fallen on both sides, and the unholy wars began as the time of darkness came upon us. Unlike enemies of the past, we could not contain the demons emergent from the dark realm. Their weaponry was not conjured from machine steel, but from the essence of their very being. A dark magic not known to us in our many conquests. Had we grown overconfident, our victories serving to dull our blade as we drank in the glory of our expanding empire. Lost, we knew not how to prevail against this foe. The Maker God stood perplexed, and our energies and priests scrambled to find the advantage in battle we so desperately needed. Unknown to the enemy, we were pushed to the brink of defeat, and our God stood with us as we worked to find the answer. The Order of the Dag were first to unlock the mystery of these foul creatures. The priests were able to capture several of the beasts and set about to identify the source of their power. It was then that the essence of the dark realm was discovered. Not wholly unlike our own, this power was the life essence that flowed through their twisted form and powered their attacks. It could be harnessed to power our weapons, giving the Argenta the chance to combat the demons on even footing. The priests believed that with greater knowledge of the essence, we could discover its source and cut it off from the demons to strangle their armies from within, allowing us to regain the advantage we required for victory on the battlefield. The Khan Maker gave blessings to our Majesty and directed the priest to delve deeper into the mysteries of the scarlet elixir from the demonic realm, for she sought only to return balance to our universe. Proper assimilation was required, as hell stood beyond her influence. After great effort, the priests discovered more than they had ever hoped for. They learned of the true nature of the demonic energy and how it could strengthen those skilled enough to harness its power. The energy coursing through the malformed bodies of our relentless enemy could be used to end life or to enhance it. The power to heal, the power to mend, immortality, knowledge, and enlightened facilities beyond our understanding. With the demon's life force in the skilled hands of the sentinel priests and under the righteous gaze of the Khan Maker, our people would not only rise to victory over the unholy horde that clawed at our walls, we would move to a higher plateau of existence, ushering in a new era of military science and industrial healing. No sentinel would grow sick. No maker would need to suffer the transfiguration that they so feared. All would be risen. None could ever oppose our peaceful ways and threaten our world again. True balance over hell and its legions, over space and time in this world and all others, we would dictate the order. United with the makers, we would find eternal peace. The Khan Maker demanded a tithe of the essence, and driven by her desire, the priests submitted themselves to her will. The order of the Dag took counsel with the king, speaking only of the spoiled land sure to be found through the cleft in creation, and the opportunity to purge the new invaders from Argent Noor. We took the war to their cursed land, pressing through the gates of wizardry. There was one among us who seemed to know the true nature of these foul demons. It was the Outlander. The stranger had come to us from places unknown. He who had survived in the front lines far longer than any sentinel-born prisoner ever had. His passion for battle against the vile horde was evident, his lust for their destruction matching our own. Though Argent Noor remained a foreign land to him, his fervor caught the attention of inquisitors of the Sentinel Guard, some whispering of a suspected allegiance he held in secret with the demons. Silencing the critics, King Novik demanded him worthy of selection. The signifiers brought a commission to our king, and it was decided he be lifted from the common rabble. Though no arena-born prisoner had ever been granted the honor, the Knight Sentinels broke tradition and deemed the Outlander worthy of training. A number of disciples grumbled and chaffed at the barbarian present in their ranks, but in the war with the demons, all opportunities for even the slightest advantage was to be considered, and as they witnessed the stranger spar with their hallmasters, they found in him an undying, unrelenting compatriot. This man was an Outlander, friend to none, and yet rose each time he was thrown to the dirt of the circle. Battered and bruised, his brow stained with blood, he rose with grim determination for the chance to fight his enemies in armed combat once again. Time passed as the stranger was instructed in the codified matrices of their order, the ancient lessons of battle and brotherhood taught to all sentinels. He could sense the opportunity before him. Soon, all of hell would feel his wrath once again. Satisfied that he would not be determined to their prowess, the Knight Sentinels granted him his wish as they ventured through the hell gates with the stranger in tow. They knew no rest, fighting in the unnatural elements and training under the blood moon of night. The stranger suffered exhaustion, wounds, and sickness, but asked for no aid and was offered none. 3 times the night sentinels ventured into the gate and back, and upon every return the stranger strode more capable than before. His gait locked in step with the march of the sentinels, a disciplined and now controlled lust for demon blood ever present. The passing of years and numerous battles with the devils indentured the stranger to the Argenta's mightiest warriors, and no longer did they consider him to be a new blood conscript, for to them he had become a brother in arms forged in war, an ally, and a weapon. As we warred with the beast, the Argenta society grew under the watchful eye of the makers, and through the endless power of the essence. While our generals were consumed with the unholy war, our culture was marked by the beautiful potion the enemy had provided us, the sweet elixir. It brought us immeasurable capacity and empowered us to reach further into dimensions once thought to be beyond our grasp. Under the direction of our maker gods and the engineering of our high priests, our weapons blazed and our war machines stormed. The throngs of the populace drank deeply from the well of energy unveiled by the priests, but we of the night sentinels took no part in their abundance. Some among us whispered accusations and warning against the manner of progress, but they were quelled, as it was not our role to dictate the future of our people, only defend it. As the black star ascended to its zenith, King Novik sat restless on his throne as a howling darkness began to assemble just beyond the mountain rise to the east. The blight came upon us in droves, flooding forth from the hell gate with merciless fury. They brought with them a monstrous titan, the dreadnought, a beast to rival the stature and menace of even the mightiest ancestral. The grotesque giant laid waste to all before him, crushing everything in his path. This was a total demonic assault, striking at the heart of Argent Noor as never before. How was it that the behemoth could pass through the demonic gate without warning? We would never know, though the night sentinels believed treason was at play. Caught off guard, the sentinels scrambled, late in defiance of the Titan and his horde, and with his coming, the holy city of Taras Noar prepared for judgment. With the onslaught of the demons masked in the sprawling shadow of the abhorrent fiend, the city shook to its foundation. None were spared, save those that fled north. The vile swarm ransacked our temples and palaces, burning our towers and feasting on the souls of our clergy. Yet the night sentinels rallied and held fast against the demons. Those they were pushed back and corralled at the blood arena. As the dark of night descended, their swords remained potent and shred the enemy multitude with abandon. Amidst the unyielding ranks of the sentinels, when all other apprentices had fallen in battle, stood the Outlander. Rip and tear, he roared ferociously into battle. The remaining conscripts of the arena stood in awe as they witnessed the beast who had once raged within their very cells, now armored alongside the shoulders of the sentinel brethren. He had risen where none other had before, a true-born sentinel fighter, the very best among them. But though the swarm fell before their assault, the Titan remained invincible, for none could tame the behemoth alone. In the hours before dawn, as the night sentinels weathered the relentless assault, the Outlander held his ground at the foot of the great wall in the northern bend of the castle. Seeing his unending vigor, some more Chancellor of the Mother God hurried the Outlander away under veil of secrecy and for reasons unknown, submitted him to a rite untold. This was heresy, for Samora received no consent from the conmaker, nor did he receive her counsel. In the chapel of purity, the Outlander submitted himself to the divinity machine. There, Samora Maker, the seraphim known to us only as the aid to the Mother God, blessed the Outlander with fierce speed and power to match his will. It was the method by which this transfusion took place that is most uncertain to us. For we were of the knowledge that the maker device bestowed onto the Argenta so many generations ago was to be used by the priest only to find the impurity among us. How could it be that the device that was meant to cull the sentinel breed of its contaminants could then be used to purify the Outlander's body and give rise to the one who would lead us into battle henceforth? What rose from the holy coffin on that fateful day was not the impure abomination the covenant warned us of. The hero within would become known only as the Slayer, the Time Walker, the warrior Khan whose fire sword would blaze forth a path for the just and cut through the demonic horde with a vengeance that only a God King could summon. He rose unbroken by the ritual, his eyes burning with magic. He took the crucible in his hand, and wraith fire leapt forth from the blade, as only it, when held by a true sentinel warrior king, would. In our darkest hour, the Slayer had been chosen, defying tradition, our most sacred laws, and the will of the great Khan herself. A stranger to our lands had been blessed with celestial might. With the coming of the Slayer, the Night Sentinels took the campaign deeper into the heartland of the demons than ever before. Mighty Atlans were brought forth, tearing paths through the hordes of hell alongside the Slayer and his army. The high priests, under the guidance of the Mother God, had found the means to gain entry to the innermost regions of the demon world. With the Dag's presence now, gates could be opened. Our war machines were unstoppable, wrought the maker technology enhanced by the very essence of our enemies hurled against us as our armies drove deeper and deeper into the blood-drenched territory of the demons. Countless victories were assured with the power of the Slayer. For the Alpha Interfector, at the force of our pack, we brought certain doom to our foes. And though our hearts were pure and our purpose righteous, unbeknown to the fighters of Argenta, in our wake and under the veil of secrecy, the Mother God had set her priests to build vast factories upon the heathen's land that she might gather the essence for further development. How this deception began, we would not know, for our focus remained on the hordes of the underworld. Why then would we stoop so low as to consider our Mother God of betraying our covenant? The Khan Maker did not seem at ease with the unforeseen rise of our Slayer, and the Seraphan who had birthed the Destroyer in secret banished from Urdak, perhaps exiled for his heresy. Our legions rose unfettered under the unquenchable rage of the Slayer, and his design led the Khan Maker to find profit in his endorsement. It soon became known that the Slayer was the Maker's God machine, a holy relic reborn, sent to bring the Maker's word to the wicked and to smite those who would seek to harm all who followed the path of Urdak. With the Slayer unwittingly cleaving a path for her, the Mother God siphoned the essence, processing it beyond our knowledge into the fuel that would come to be known as Argent energy. The Slayer cared not for polity. He took no interest in the workings of our people, but set his task only on his desire, the destruction of the demons and their world. He no longer spoke for reasons unknown, though it was understood that he still possessed the ability, offering guttural hefts of anger as he inflicted pain upon his enemies. For years he marched with the Night Sentinels through the fires of the demon lands, and every return to our homeworld found much change in Argent Noir. Should any blame be apportioned to the Sentinels, it is this. In our fervor, we were negligent of our people and did not see the rising tide of evil our crusade empowered. We knew only the enemy laid before us and the wealth of Argenta at our backs, and did not pause to seek to cost the method of this progress. Yet as the Slayer and the Night Sentinels battled the demonic host, their failure to act outside the confines of their duty allowed the rancor of the essence to grip the Argenta. It was on one mission deep within the boiling seas of the Netherrealm, where the Order of the Six reside, that a company of Night Sentinels learned of the Khan's true dealings with the callous beasts. By Maker design, it was kept secret from the Sentinels and Argent people alike that the essence we had grown so reliant on during this war was comprised of the very spirit of our brothers and sisters who'd fallen to these vile creatures. The truth had been uncovered that all beings who found their end by the demonic horde would become a vassal of the hellscape, their flesh and time twisted into the very demons we were fighting, their souls extracted to create the essence that powers their world and ours. The victims were the enemy, and the enemy would become us. The soldiers stood in awe at the base of a factory dedicated to such action, a place where the bodies of the slain were sorted and processed, tortured for their mill to have their souls extracted through sinister magic. Enormous vats of pain and suffering, ethereal energy, the haunting sounds of lost souls awash in an eternity of servitude, transformed into energy to power our struggle against the dark realm and its malice. But worse than this grim reality was the discovery of the machinery which was used to enact the vile process our fallen had been subjected to. For it was not by hoof and claw that this blasphemous technology had come to pass, but by the hand of the Argenta guided by the Mother God's desires. We had fallen deep within the grasp of the enemy. What we had fought against would not reveal itself to be true. As without continence, we could hold no sway over the Argenta populace. Regardless, the honor of the Night Sentinels would have to hold up to the verity of these claims, and the Mother God could be our divinity no more. In secret corridors and clandestine conference, the Night Sentinels would find those amongst them who similarly distrusted the essence and had foretold of the swelling corruption. Once the truth could be shared, the skeptics became members of the Sentinel insurrection, and the breach between holy and unholy Argenta began to grow. The truth could not be denied. The holy spires raised in the barren lands functioned by blessing of the Maker machinery. The Khan had betrayed Argent Noor and had made concert with the demons to harvest their essence. In return, granting them access to all our worlds under her influence, a symbiotic relationship had formed, and darkness now had been balanced by a light. For where there was heaven, so there would be hell. The followers would be granted passage to Urdok, and the sinners would fall into the fiery pits of the dark realm. This world would be spread from all cultures in all worlds and in all places. We were not without blame, for it was our people, the priests and sentinel engineers, who laid the work in place. Argenta's slaves had built the dark factories, and our own ancient wraith energy helped purify hell's elixir into the miracle fuel that now powered the Maker's world and our own. The Night Sentinel spoke of the evil brought by the essence and carried their word to all who would listen. We had helped to create this new dichotomy, and so it must be for the Argenta to stop spread of this pestilence, this new phase of existence, the dark and the light. If not for us, then for the innocents whose worlds have yet to fall under the spell of the Maker God and her unseen allies in the Hell dimension. Even when the Night Sentinels returned from the demonic realm with the tales of slave factories that damned the souls of the innocent, the indoctrinated masses of Argent Noor took no quarrel with the Makers. They were indebted to the demon essence. The ministers deliberately but finding no basis for change. The messengers were cast down for daring to speak against those who had gifted us so much, Our gods, the makers, in their infinite wisdom, would see fit that the faithful continue life anew in Urdak. They feared the wrath of the Mother God. A lifetime of servitude would not be undone by this insurrection. This was simply another trial, a test of faith to identify those that were truly worthy to experience life eternal in Urdak. The Argenta would not waver in their resolve. The Night Sentinels prepared for war once again, though this battle meant drawing the blood of their own brothers. Our army had seen the work of the demons firsthand and knew its evil. They had returned to the way of the race, and though their armament was diminished without the essence, it remained pure and righteous. A division amongst the Argenta had occurred. One side standing in opposition of the doctrine of the makers, the other locked in their belief. The ascended empire was comprised of the faithful and misled, wielding the desecrated energies of hell, the power of the makers, and marauders who had sided with the Khan. The Night Sentinels were bolstered by the free people of Argenta and the mightiest of all killers, the Slayer himself. Plans and tactics were drawn. The Sentinels would close the Argent energy factories, that which fed the world of Urdak directly with its supply of fresh essence. They would stop the flow. The slumbering race would wake from their sleep and give Argenta Noor courage. For years, the civil war raged and took its toll on the soldiers as their armor laid stained with the blood of their brothers in a cursed battlefield. Finally, an opportunity to end the war had been discovered by the order of Adega and the Night Sentinels. With the Slayer at the head of their army, they gathered to traverse through the gate and sunder Necroval, the city of the dead. The order of the Adega, the high priests who had pledged their allegiance long ago to the Night Sentinels, worked in service of our mission. Those holy priests who had served the Argenta since time immemorial assured us that the way was clear. A plan was set to march into the accursed walls of Necroval and smite the factory, cutting off the flow of essence to Urdak and denying the Khan mother of her prize. Our forces took spear in hand and advanced, and it was there that the venom of treachery struck. Upon entry through the hell portal, the Night Sentinels were scattered to the winds of unplanned chaos. Our warriors were separated, our ranks split as the gates twisted and hurled them across the unholy realm. Some of our warriors appeared near the gates they had walked before, but found that the vile priests had barred the way back. Then the trap was sprung, and each lone Argenta found himself set upon by bloodthirsty multitudes of demonic beasts. Let it be known that it was not the priests alone who failed the northern armies, but one of the Sentinels' own. Hell found his weakness and exploited it to the demise of Argent Noor. If not for the betrayer's stroke of madness, the race power would still be our own, and the Sentinel flag would still rise above Argent Noor to this day. Scattered in hell, abandoned by their clergy and reinforcements, the Sentinels proved their worth in what would be the final war with the forces of all evil. Unrelenting power in the face of certain death, the Sentinels crushed hundreds of demons and skewered titans. When their Atlans held no more fuel, the Sentinels took to the ground and fought the swarms on land. All of hell knew of the betrayal, for it was without question the makers and the priests who had sowed the seeds of deceit long before the brave warriors passed through the gate. What hell saw that day was the beating heart of the free people of Argent Noor. They did not flinch in the face of their own certain death. They died as they lived, with sword and shield in hand. Urdak too low a place to house such giants. Theirs would be the fate of warrior gods, remembered for all time. Lord Sash, the stalwart banner sergeant, was found with his war shield's standard pierced through his throat, along with a great beast, his body surrounded by the corpses of his enemies. Roland the Mighty, the light-faced from his eyes had eviscerated such a multitude that their entrails clung to the black rocks like veins. Gore, relentless until the end, had broken his blade on the backs of his foes, and by the time he fell, he had slain another 200 with his bare hands alone. The priests believe the sentinels has all been slain, but we are Argenta, born to overcome. Rumors deemed heretic by the order of Dag priests and claim that the Slayer himself still rages in the unholy realm. None who live can know, for the future of Argent Nor has been bent and twisted by the perverted visions of the essence drinkers. Never again will the light of the race illuminate our world. All has fallen. If the Slayer does live, let him carry our vengeance forward. If he persists, let him wreak violence on those who have wronged us. May the blood of his sword never dry. May his war never end until the guilty have been punished. And may this evil never spread its shadow over another world again.
Wow.
And I need a big drink after that.
I bet you do. That was impressive. That was a doom story, huh?
That is the story of the Night Sentinels. The Night Sentinels are what were fighting the demons in the original war against the demons.
That was cool.
So the Outlander is the Doom guy. That you are the Outlander in the game. Yeah. So the prevailing theory is that the Doom guy from the very first game somehow got transported to this new reality. And that's the same. He's the same guy. He's just living in an alternate reality. And he was locked in a coffin in hell, and that's where you wake up in the first game. You wake up in this coffin, this tomb. So yeah, Defender of Fire. Hooah! Hooah! Yes. I'm even going to play that real quick. Yeah, absolutely, positively. Defender of Fire. Got it right.
Spartans! What is your profession?
And if you listen when they're talking about fighting in the circle, and every time he went face down into the circle, they brought him back up. The Night Sentinels are basically like the Spartans of Doom. No outsider could ever be one, but they finally let him in because he just rip and tear.
Right.
So thank you guys. Thank you so very much. Lighthearted note. Thank you, Naughty Monkey Overrap says nice read, Loki. Thank you. Yeah, that just about killed my voice talking like that for so long.
Get some water in you. We're all impressed. That was very, very amazing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, for listening to Adega's story and listening to the Doom guy's story, the story of the Night Sentinels. I will see you all tomorrow morning with Dave Bob as we're going to cover the first half of The Mandalorian Season 1. We'll cover the second half next week. And then on the 30th, we will be watching Episode 1 of The Mandalorian. Hopefully, this is a lot better than that shit I watched this morning. If not, I'm definitely going to need something to drink in the morning to get past everything. I'll be coming on the stream like, how y'all doing today?
Just let Sven run the show.
Yeah, just let Sven run the whole show. But thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. Everyone have a great night. Thank you, PJ, Chris Bergia, Bruce Lombardo, Naughty Monkey Earwrath, RR, Chris Bergia, Lord Thoth, Dave Bob, Lady Miss the Guardian of the Void. Thank you all so very much for being here, for hanging out with us, for chilling.
1 second.
Yeah, Fat Steven Seagal.
Everyone here thanks you, Loki, for providing this for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank all of you guys. Seriously, for me, thank all of you for being here, for hanging out with us. I love getting to do this with Adega. This is literally like the high point of my week is Thursday nights hanging out with Adega.
It goes both ways.
Thank you guys for being here. You guys, everybody take care, and we will see you tomorrow morning for some Mornings of Mischief. Have a great night, everybody.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.